Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.
Hello and welcome to My Icons, a special edition of the GAA podcast. I'm Owen Ryan and I'm delighted to be joined today with Tipperary footballer and 2020 All-Star Conor Sweeney to talk about his GAA heroes. Thanks for joining us, Conor.
No problem, Owen. Thanks very much.
So tell me, Conor, who inspired you as a young Gaelic footballer?
I suppose I was having to think about it there recently, and I don't know, my memory probably doesn't stretch back as far as others would. I was probably more around the 2008, 2009, and even probably 2010, 11 era. And I suppose back then, Kerry were quite dominant, especially in Munster and even in terms of the All-Ireland series. So I suppose, you know, they had some class players at that stage, like their forwards in particular were quite impressive. No more so than like Galvin and Declan O'Sullivan in the half-forward line there. Like, I mean, to me, Declan O'Sullivan was probably just one of the most complete footballers around. You know, he just had it all. He could give it you anyway, long, short. He could run, he could carry it. You know, he could score off both feet. And he was just, in my opinion, probably like the ultimate number 11. You know, he was always pulling the strings for that team and just very, very skillful, like, and had a good work ethic about him as well. So he was definitely one player that I always enjoyed watching. Paul Galvin as well, probably around the same time as him, he was a joy to watch as well. For maybe other reasons, like he was probably obviously a totally different player to Declan, but he could, you know, mix it anyway. He was tough. He was good in the air for a man who probably wasn't that tall, but he was even better on the ground. And I think he was one of the best half forwards, at getting in under the breaking ball and winning that dirty ball on the ground, and then laying it off to the inside lads. He was just a great link, I thought, between backs and forwards. He obviously could get a score then every now and then when it was needed, and I just felt he had that kind of that bit between his teeth as well. You know, that bit of toughness that you need around the middle of the field. So those two were definitely two of the players that I would have just really enjoyed watching, and obviously then no more so than the Gooch himself inside. I just thought he was probably one of the best footballers, if not the best to play the game. Just class all around, you know. Especially from an inside forward, you'd always be looking to pick up little bits here and there from other players, and he was definitely one that you'd have watched a lot. You know, again, he could kick off both feet. His movement was unbelievable, and like he often said himself, he was never the biggest or the strongest, but you know, he didn't rely on that. He just relied on his, I suppose, the top 6 inches in his head. Like, he always made the correct decision, but being able to kick off both feet and having great movement like that will take you a long way, you know, as an inside forward. So those would definitely be the three that I always would have enjoyed watching and would have tried to pick up a few bits from here and there.
Do you have any standout memory of when you first noticed these guys, or something they did in a match that made you think, I like that?
I suppose like a couple of the Gucci scores against, I think it was Mayo in an All-Ireland semi-final. I'm not quite sure what year it was now, but scored an unbelievable goal, did another flick with the ball between his legs while he was on the ground, rounded his man and popped it over the bar. Another score, I think it was against Mayo again, the same match. He was going down the left-hand touchline, looked like he was going to kick it off the left, dummy soldier man, and kicked it over from, you know, 30, 35 yards off the right. Those just, you just take notice of those little things. Like, that's a very difficult thing to do, you know, trusting yourself to take on the shot. Your less preferred foot and absolutely look, it was nothing to him. And that goal against Mayo he scored was class. Also, just a couple of his kick passes, like he found James O'Donoghue there in a couple of games against Dublin with just lovely balls, like, you know, through the eye of a needle kind of stuff. And those are the balls and the kick passes you dream of receiving as an inside forward. And, you know, anytime he kind of did drift out to the 40, he was definitely able to make those passes and pick them off. So that's what I liked about him as well. Like, you know, he was known for being an inside forward, but I think in his latter days then as well, he drifted out to the 40 a little bit, and he was able to kind of create space, and he was able to see things that other players didn't. So definitely enjoyed him inside close to goal. But when he was coming towards the end of his career as well, he did spend a little time out around 40, and it didn't take from his game whatsoever. But that's how good he was.
Paul Galvin was a bit of a divisive character, so you were more on the love him rather than hate him side.
Oh, definitely, yeah. No, I was just I was always just a big fan of the way he carried himself, especially on the field. He was kind of just giving it everything for the jersey and everything for the cause. And I used to, like many other people, I used to love the battles he used to have with Noel O'Leary and other lads there. It was just always entertaining stuff. But he was just, I think behind it all, a lot of people might have different opinions on him, but behind it all, he was a top class player. And he was a baller, like Declan and like the Gooch. So I enjoyed that about him, though. He could give it to you anyway. But when it came to the football side of things, he was definitely one of the best around in his position, anyway, that's for sure. I remember watching his documentary, Galvanise, I think there's an old one now, but I remember the time he used to say, he set out, his ambition was to win Footballer of the Year, I don't know, was it 2009, I think, and he made that goal happen. That's incredible, and that takes a really strong mindset to be able to do that. But yeah, enjoyed all those three now, I must say.
Did you ever get a chance to play against any of them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got to play against all three of them, probably even at the same time, which is quite daunting when you think back. When I came on the Tip Senior panel first, it was 2010, and for that first 4, I'd say, years, we drew Kerry in the championship every single year. So we got knocked out by Kerry in it could have been the first or the second round of the Munster Football Championship, and they were class back then. So even playing against the caliber of those players back then was a big task. We never feared it, but you always knew that you're in for a tough day. And by God, did they give us some tough days? But yeah, I played against them. Played against all three of them. Never came out on the right side, unfortunately. But yeah, they gave us. They'll give you a lesson in football, whether it be Clarny or Thurles. And when they're on their game, at the time, there was no one better than them. Yeah, and I got to meet the Gooch there actually last Christmas, blowing Clarny. I was getting married down there myself, and I just met him in a hotel, and we had a conversation about the year gone by. So that was nice. It was my first time meeting him properly, outside of the field, and lovely man, yeah.
Do you think Colin Cooper, today's game is very much based on athleticism and power? A guy who was maybe more skilled player, would he have been as successful in the modern game?
I think so, yeah. I definitely do. I think players that good will thrive in any condition, any circumstance. Yeah, the game now and the players probably built around athleticism and power, but there's always room for football, and football will always come out on top. That's for sure. And I definitely think he'd fit in fine nowadays. We'd take him anyway, I'll tell you that much.
And a tip lad, being a fan of Kerry footballers, did you have to keep that quiet when you were younger?
Actually, not really. Look, they were one of the top teams in the country at the time, and they obviously still are, and they've always produced great footballers. If you weren't to know of some of those footballers, some of the best that have ever played the game, sure, what are you at? You know what I mean? Obviously, when you were kind of playing for a different county, and I was young at the time, so maybe I was just kind of in awe of these guys, but you take out county rivalry aside, you just love the game and you love watching the best players, play at their peak and watching them doing just unbelievable stuff, because at the end of the day, we all love the sport, you know what I mean? And we all love competing, but you just love to see the best players do what they do best. Obviously, when they're playing against you, you'd hope they might have an off day, but just watching them on telly when it came to the latter end of the championship all those years ago, you just used to sit back and just enjoy it, because I used to love watching the game, still do, hurling or football, and absolutely didn't have to hide that at all. I wouldn't even hide it now, to be honest with you.
And was there anyone then closer to home, say Tip, you would have seen as an inspiration as well?
It's funny, not particularly, to be honest with you, because I suppose I was I don't really have many memories of Tipperary football from when I was a young fella. Obviously, Declan Brown is very well recognised as one of the best footballers to have played the game, and definitely one of Tip's finest. But I actually wouldn't have seen him a whole pile. I might have seen him in a couple of club games for my Rovers, but my memories of those days are very short. But I've seen clips obviously of Declan playing in his time, and he was obviously top class. Like, he was one of the best to ever play the game in his position. Like, and that was in a time when I suppose football was just a totally different game, but Declan had it all as well. Like, he just, kicking, his ability to score off both feet was, it got him out of a lot of trouble in those days, because I've often heard him say himself that, he wasn't the biggest or the strongest either. So he relied on his movement, his footwork, and his ability to kick points. And, I've watched that 2002 Munster final a lot over the years, and that drawn game in Thurles, like, he was outstanding that day. Like, and I suppose another player around that time that I really admired, even though I probably don't have too many memories of him, would have been Colin Corkery. Like, he was just exceptional. Like, I mean, the skill level of that man, for a massive man his size, was just unbelievable. His ability to kick points from distance was just incredible. Just loved his style, loved the way he carried himself, a bit of a character as well. And Colin actually, he coached my club, Ballyperrine, a long time ago when I was a young fella. A long time ago, they were only intermediate footballers at the time, I think. But yeah, I used to see him blow on the pitch a good bit when I'd be just below watching on. So yeah, those are two lads maybe from that era.
And of course, you're an All-Star now yourself. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Owen. Sound.
And a Munster champion. Do you think that's important, that young lads playing football now in Tip, rather than having to look to Kerry and Cork for role models or for idols, they had the likes of yourself now to think, I want to be like Conor Sweeney?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's obviously great. I never actually looked at it like that until he mentioned it. I certainly hope they will. I think football in this county has got a little bit more exposure over the last number of years, which is fantastic, and like, if our exploits and our success this year won't do it, I don't know what will, but I definitely feel it. 2020 will have a positive impact on younger guys around the county and outside the county, hopefully, So, yeah, listen, it was a fantastic year for us, and I've no doubt that there's young fellas around in primary schools and indeed secondary schools who probably have a little bit more ambition now to represent the football code in the county, and I hope they do that.
Was it a surprise to win the All-Star?
Listen, I was obviously blown away to win it, like, but you know yourself now with these things, you kind of have a fair idea whether you have a good chance or not, and I was in with a shot, I knew that, and to get the news then on Friday morning was incredible, really, really topped off a fantastic year for us and myself personally, so absolutely thrilled with the news. And sure, look, it's fantastic to be even considered in that bracket with some of those players that have won it with me and before me, so yeah, absolutely over the moon now with it, to be honest.
It's a pity you didn't get the night out.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's mad. Like, I was at the All-Stars in 2016 and we had a fantastic night. And, like, I suppose the worst thing about missing out on a night like that is you don't get to mingle with the other players, because very seldom you get a chance to meet the players off the field, and when you're on the field, sure, you're fighting tooth and nail to get the results. So those are the kind of nights where you might meet lads that, maybe you might have played Sigerson with, or you might have been on an All-Star trip with or something, and lads you wouldn't meet from one end of the year to the next, and that would have been a great opportunity to meet them and even mingle with some of the hurlers maybe from different counties and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, I can't complain now. I'll take it anyway, I get it, but we might have a night out in the future, please God, if things get back to normal somewhat anyway.
Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last two matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. It's over the bar.